Hey guys, welcome back to Nerd Crave. We're doing something pretty fun today. We're gonna interview a friend of mine, SmashJT. Please welcome SmashJT to the channel. Say hi, Smash.
What's up?
Uh,
Thank you so much for having me, Aaron. Appreciate it.
all right, if I call you Jeff, sir.
Of course, yeah.
So I'm pretty new on the platform. This guy has been a real inspiration to me and helped me frame my overall philosophy on YouTube creation. Before I became a creator, I was pretty starstruck by a lot of the big gaming YouTubers, the Metal Jesus, the John Hancocks, the RGTs and beat 'em ups of the world. I kind of treated these guys as celebrities, and I was actually first exposed to you, Jeff, by a video you did criticizing John Hancock, and one of my first, I think it was my second or third video on the platform, was actually criticizing you for criticizing John. And, I realized from starting to watch you at first because I was mad at you, and then, as I more started to realize what was really going on the platform, I started, thanks to your help, to be able to come to the realization that YouTubers are people. They're real people with flaws. They can be insecure or greedy or manipulative or even malicious. They're not all like that, of course. But you've really helped me see past the glitz and glam and really identify who my real heroes are on the platform. Creators who they care about what they're producing and stand by their convictions. People who can be themselves and not some persona that's manufactured to chase the algorithm.
Right.
So there's three guys that I really try to model my channel after, my inspirations. So Happy Console Gamer, Johnny, that guy's amazing. He can sit in front of the camera and just shoot straight from the hip. He can do the entire 15 or 20-minute video in one take, because he believes what he's saying. He's comfortable in his own skin, and he can, just really be passionate about what he cares about and put himself out there. He doesn't need to over edit and over produce his stuff because he is the real deal.
hmm
You got guys like Scott the Woz, some really incredible production values in his videos, and I really feel like he has a lot of integrity on the platform. And
hmm
then you, how you're able to really stand for the little guy and say what you feel and be comfortable in your own skin. I really dig the confidence and heart that you show.
Wow. Um, I would not put myself on the level of those two, but that is amazing for someone to ever say that. I thank you. Jeez.
So
Wow. Holy crap.
for for me and for my listeners, I mean, I got to admit I'm being a little bit selfish here for the video because I want to know this stuff, and I think my listeners will as well. Um, Tell me a little bit about your history. Like on your YouTube profile, you say you have a history in the gaming industry. Obviously, a love and a passion for games, and you've done a lot of gaming videos before you started moving more into the commentary stuff. Tell me a little bit about how you came from being just a kid with a controller to where you are now on the platform.
All right. Well, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version of it, not to bore people, but I am the youngest of five boys in my family. And my oldest brother was born in the early 70s. So growing up, I had all the consoles from Atari to the Commodore 64 to the NES to the Tandy computer, all the way up into the present day modern consoles.
Yeah.
So while I was born in 81, so I was like 4 years old, 5 years old, just when all this stuff was kind of on the cusp of
Yeah.
turning into a major industry. And I mean, I'll never forget, like one of my earliest memories of when I was a kid was when my brother came home with Mario Brothers on the NES.
Yeah.
And I, up to this point, I had years of, like, I was an infant, like up 3 years, 4 years old, 5 years old, and I just had Tandy computer, Commodore 64, and Atari, where it's just bleeps and bloops and blocks moving around and nothing really crazy. And then Mario
Yeah.
moved across the screen, and I was just like, "What is
Blown.
this? What is this sorcery? Like,
Yeah.
how is that possible?"
Yeah, I came from the same kind of time period. I was born in 78 and my first console was a 2600, and I mean, it was cool when I was like 6 years old, but when Mario really came onto the scene, I'm the same way. Like that's when I really started to identify as a gamer. Like, wow, this is amazing.
And I remember like the feeling it took me away to a different world. Like I felt like I was transported. You know what I mean? Like living in a different dimension
Yeah,
playing
crazy.
this game. But anyway, fast forward to when I got older. I born in Massachusetts. I drove out to California because I always wanted to live here. I didn't really have a plan per
Yeah,
se. And I know we'll probably get into it later talking about Tommy Tallarico, but it was something me and him kind of bonded upon because he was similar. He was born in Massachusetts and drove out to California, didn't have any place to live, didn't have
yeah,
plan. It was just kind of like, let's do this. You got one life to live. Let's experience it. And when I got here to San Diego, I had one of my brothers moved to Laguna Beach, like Dana Point area, so Orange County. It was like an hour and 20 minutes north of San Diego.
yeah,
So I did have a contact if I needed any emergencies or anything like that, but he just had his first kid, so I'm like, I can't live with them or anything like that. It's too crazy. So I had a buddy move out with me, and we rented a place, and I was like looking through these Craigslist ads, and I was like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. I got like $10,000 saved up over the past like 3 years. I've just been saving up to make this move, and I finally did it, and I'm like, damn, I'm going through this money fast. Like California's expensive.
yeah,
I need a job. As I was looking at the Craigslist ads, I'm like, what do I want to do with my life? Like I just graduated college, a business management degree. I had a master's certificate in leadership, and I'm like, I have all this paper backing for my life. I can apply to a lot of stuff, but it was right during the 2008 housing crisis meltdown.
oh
So
yeah,
the jobs were like not really around. And I remember seeing this ad for a game tester, and I was like laughing to my roommate that moved out. I was like, "Hey, how about I be a game tester? How funny would that be?" Because it was right around the time of Grandma's Boy,
yeah,
and he was like, "Dude, you're not gonna be a game tester, you kidding?" I'm like, "Well, I love video games." He's like, "Yeah, we always played like Halo and stuff together."
yeah.
And he's like, I mean, why not? I was like, yeah, I guess I'll apply to it. And I went in and interviewed, got it, Sony Online Entertainment, and ended up being a game tester. And it was like very smooth to go from interviewing to getting it. But looking back in retrospect, I was very fortunate. Like the challenges that people face getting into the game industry are sometimes insurmountable
Yeah.
because of the pay is so low. I was making $10 an hour, which
Yeah.
in California is like below poverty. Like you can't live off that.
Yeah.
$400 a week won't get you anywhere. That'll cover food. It won't cover rent, you know? So, unless you're living off ramen noodles, which I was for a while.
Yeah, I've
But
been
anyways,
there.
yeah, exactly. But anyways, just fast forward to after that, I got my name in the end credits of like 9, I think, maybe 10. I don't remember. Video games and listed online in the end credits, and I'll never forget the moment of doing the QA and seeing the end credits and seeing my name there. And I was like getting like glassy eyed because I was like, as a kid, I remember looking at all the names when you beat like Metroid or Kid Icarus
Yeah, yeah.
and like all these Japanese names, never English names. And I was kind of like teared up. I'm like, oh my God, my name is in the end credits of a video game. Like
Yeah.
to me, that was just like surreal. So
Yeah.
that was my history getting into the industry. And then from that, just to not to bore everyone with my whole story, but I went from being a game tester to a game master on EverQuest, which in layman's terms was in-game customer support, helping people out,
Right.
settling disputes.
Yeah.
Just what I find myself doing in YouTube sometimes, dealing with people, dealing with controversy. Um, and then from that, I actually became a video game recruiter on the West Coast. So I would
Okay.
actually interview people to be game testers, developers, artists, producers, anything you can think of in the game industry. I worked for a temp agency that had contracts with Sony, Rockstar, Square Enix, EA, all these companies, Nexon, NHN, Midway, all
Cool.
throughout the whole West Coast. I would go to the offices. I'd meet these managers in person.
Yeah.
I'd try to keep a straight face, but inside I was just like, holy, this is badass. Or just,
Yeah.
I'm in these game studios right now. This is
Yeah.
crazy.
So did you ever end up kind of being an insider at like things like E3 or something like that as well then, or?
No, I didn't. It was more actually, ironically, after I started YouTube, where I got to that point where I actually have a buddy when I used to work at Qualcomm. He was one of the founding members of San Diego Comic-Con back in the 70s.
Right.
And he hooked me up with being a member of the press of San Diego Comic-Con because of my YouTube channel.
Okay.
So that's when it kind of took off with the whole like media thing, and that it's just like surreal. Like I got the press badge and I'm standing in line in the Nintendo area. You don't need a Comic-Con badge to get in there. And I'm standing in line for like 3-4 hours. I finally get in, and the lady at the door is like, "You're press?" I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Why are we waiting in line?" I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, You can just come in. You're press." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So the next day I just walked up. I'm just like, that. I was like in that movie with it's like Wayne's World with like backstage pass. So
yeah, I've been kind of an insider at some of the Comic Cons up in Canada too, like the big one in Toronto and stuff. I have a couple of friends who are artists, and I kind of handled some of the business and marketing for them, and we do kind of the Artist Alley. We did that several years, in
Those
a row.
Those guys are so talented.
Oh,
crap.
I know, eh?
Holy crap!
Yeah, so it's I know what you're talking about. It's so much fun to be able to go into the building before the rest of the general public is there and talk to the other vendors and kind of be like an insider, be part of what's going on. It feels really cool. So we mentioned the Amico. I've been very interested in the development of the Amico. And, I've seen on your videos, you've been a pretty vocal supporter of the Amico, and you've actually talked to Tommy Tallarico, visited his home, touched the Amico hands-on, like checked it out. So based on what you know, can you tell us a little bit about why you think the Amico is a good thing, and maybe why there's so much hate out there for the system? You've talked previously about Pat the NES Punk and stuff. I don't really want to get into pointing fingers, but are people just burned out on retro revival stuff at this point, or is there something more insidious at play here that's got so much hate going on for the system?
It's impossible to talk about that without diving into the depths of hell with drama.
That's okay. I mean, take us where we need to go.
But I will say, I'll start at the beginning of your question as far as my hands-on experience with it and why I feel as passionate as I do about it. Is it going to be the most amazing console that ever graced the planet? No. And I think that's what, ironically, initially, I don't know if you know how far back you've been following me, but my first video on this thing was basically blasting it, where I'm like, no one needs this crap. I was basically Pat the NES Punk. I was with him. I was like, yeah, what the hell is the point of this thing? Why do we need it? I already have my Switch. I already have my PS4. I already have my Xbox One. If I want to keep up with the next gen, I'll buy the next gen, or I'll get Stadia. Like, where does this fit into the equation? And after a little bickering back and forth between Tommy and Pat the NES Punk, and I already had a history of Pat the NES Punk and not necessarily getting along with him very well.
Yeah.
I saw that Tommy had invited Pat up to his house, and I know Pat is in San Diego with me here. And Pat was like, "Yeah, thanks, but no thanks. I'm not doing that, Tommy. I'm not getting like, you're not gonna hypnotize me with whatever you got going on there." And I was like, he's offering you like the chance of a lifetime to witness firsthand a console that actually exists and in development, and you can come see it, and he can answer any questions you have, and you're not taking him up on that. So I was like, just like on a whim. I was like, at the time, I was a much smaller channel. I was like a nobody in the scene, which is why I have mad respect for Tommy, because he doesn't care about your channel size. And neither do I, by the way. That's why I want to get it with you too later on when we talk about the other stuff you want to talk about. Channel size shouldn't matter. It never. I look at people as human beings. I want to respect where their standpoint is, but I also want them to see where I'm coming from. And I think that's where the challenge comes in, when those two things. And the more you grow, the more you'll run into people not wanting to see your way, and it gets into. But we'll go into that later. But Tommy was like, I was like just throwing it out there on a whim. Hey, Tommy, if Pat's not going to come up and see you, I'm in San Diego too. I'll be happy to join.
Yeah.
And he wrote back. He's like, all right, cool. He's like, hit me up in a DM. And I'm like, what? So I hit him in a DM, and I was like, hey, what's up? Were you serious? He's like, of course. When do you want to come up? I was like, what works best for you?
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
like, how about next Friday? Uh, he's like, next Friday. Here's my address. Here's my phone number. Come up and see me. I'm like, you don't even know who I am, and you're just like,
Yeah,
here's all my personal information. It's just like so just that seems to be missing from the world today. Everyone's so afraid of everything, and Tommy's just so
yeah,
like kick back, like, no, come on and check it out, whatever. So I went to go see him, and before we went to go see the Amico, the Intellivision building, we went to his house because he had a prototype of his house anyways, and he wanted to just kind of he wanted to take me up to Intellivision headquarters. So I went to his house, and we were going to drive together from there. And he was like, "Oh, well, while you're here, let's talk about video games. You like video games, right?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Me too." And I think, I mean, from looking back now, I see exactly what he was doing, and it's genius. Like he's a very smart person, especially
yeah,
when it comes to marketing. I'm not an idiot either. I'd like to think.
yeah.
But he brings me in, and he shows me his house. He shows me. I don't know if you've seen the video where
Oh
I do
yeah,
the mansion tour of his house,
yeah.
and I'm like, before I even saw the Amico, that shows me this guy lives, eats, sleeps, breathes. Like
Oh
video games are his life.
yeah.
Like it's not.
He was showing you his street cred before he showed you the
Yeah,
Amico.
exactly. And
Yeah,
this is coming from a guy where I knew he did video game music, but I didn't know like how ingrained he was with video game culture.
yeah,
And I mean, he's got so many Guinness Book of World Records that they are on the ground, like not even hanging up at his
yeah,
house because he doesn't have room for them. And
yeah,
he's not even bragging about it. Like we walk by them, he doesn't even like talk about them. I'm like, what are those? He's like,
yeah,
oh, those are just for. He's like, if you really want to know. And even before I turned on the camera, he was like, look, I don't want to come off like I'm bragging. I don't want to come across like I'm better than you. He's like, honestly, if you're going to record here, I just want it to be so people know how passionate I am about gaming. And I was
yeah.
like, damn, like he's being real.
And that really came through in your video too. Like he seems really genuine. And I probably got the same feel from your video. Like you translated that pretty well. However, you did your interview with him and that sort of thing. That I was even more excited. Like I was already excited for the Amico, just based on the kind of press releases that I had seen, some of the gameplay videos and stuff. There's another YouTuber up here in Canada. He's a small channel too that I follow, Papa Pete, the old guy gamer, and
Yeah, I know Papa P.
he's a really big supporter of the Amico too, and he's got me pretty excited for it. So, I mean, from day one of me hearing about this thing, I've not bought into any of the hate, but I'm super interested to hear like your perspective, having had hands on with the console. What is this
Oh
thing
yeah.
like?
So it's what's the best way to go about this? It's a very different experience.
Yeah,
Like it's not I think people are so used to the generic controller, game, and then play, where this is about ease of use. It's not turn on the console, wait for it to boot up, wait for the disk to load, wait for the options menu, wait for this, trying to connect a second controller, wait for this, and you're
yeah,
15 minutes in before you even start playing a game.
yeah,
Where the Amico's like, hey, we got 20 minutes, family's right here, let's throw it on and play some games. Just like the old NES, you pop an NES game in and you're playing it.
yeah,
And that was like something that Tommy's always wanted to focus on with this is just ease of use for every age. And it's funny, every time I talk about the Amico, I feel like I'm like a PR representative for Tommy.
yeah.
And I'm not. Like, it's like legitimately, it's just being a gamer and seeing what he's getting at. I'm like, I miss that feeling where you can just turn something on and play it.
Yeah,
Like,
for me, like I have a lot of problems with a lot of modern games. That's why I tend to stay like a generation behind. I'm actually pretty excited. I kind of broke my rule and bought a Switch Lite today. It's my first Switch. It's my first like current gen console. But like I usually stay in the past with video games because I have a real problem committing to these 15 to 50 to 100 hour games that you have to invest 2 hours in just to get to a save point. And
Yeah.
I really love it when I can turn on a game like Punch Out on the NES and play three or
And
four
just play.
rounds and put it down. You're done.
And
20
and that
minutes.
and it's funny you bring that up too, because I don't know your personal situation. You don't need to tell me about it if you don't want to. But I know like a lot of the criticism, the critics out there that are hating on the Amico, they don't fit the mold of the target audience, we'll say, for it currently. Who
Yeah.
knows in the future what games will come out for it? Maybe that might change. I don't know. I can't speak. I don't have a crystal ball. But initially, like Tommy was telling me, like, this is for families. This is for ease of use. This is for everybody can just pick up and play it, for all age ranges, and you can just have fun. And you can sit down on the couch and just play with your family. It's like a board game,
Yeah.
but more futuristic than that, if you will. And
Yeah.
I'm like, that's fascinating. I'm looking at the haters. I'm looking at like people like Pat the NES Punk, not to get into their personal life, but to my knowledge, he's not married. He doesn't have kids. He doesn't have that kind of situation where I have a wife. I got 2 kids.
Yeah.
I got everything but the white picket fence outside my house for the all-American family, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, when I was talking to Tommy, I was like, holy crap, this is like exactly what my life could use. Like,
Yeah.
because when I play games, I play a very personal experience with the Switch. My son plays a very personal experience with the Switch. My daughter will play on her iPad. My wife will play on her iPhone. And we don't really play together.
You don't come together, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, the Amico
Unless you
kind
pull
of
out, unless you pull out like Mario Party or something. Most games are
Right.
single player or at most 2 player.
Right. But that's the problem is, like, I feel like psychologically I have those games, but we don't ever put them in.
Yeah.
Because we have all these other first-person shooters or RPGs or Pokemon or all these other isolating experiences, like Tommy was saying. And it's like, I would like something where I could I got my TV right behind me. I'm in my family room right here.
Yeah.
And I would love something where I could just turn on TV. Here's a controller. Let's play together. Let's just have an experience. That game was fun. 25 minutes. Okay, cool. Let's play another game and just go through it like that. Instead of putting so much emphasis on hyping up these gigantic AAA titles, it's a different mentality. It really is. And I think there's a market for it. And if they pull it off right, which I'm not at liberty to say some information that I heard recently about it. There's some big news on the horizon that will be announced
Awesome.
most likely this week.
Looking forward to it.
Keep your eyes peeled for that. But when I heard that, I'm like, people are going to freak when they find out what Amico is going to announce this week. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
So, in response to another video you did pretty recently, I think just a few days ago, talking about remakes and remasters, you were talking about Trials of Mana and Final Fantasy VII Remake and stuff. So, like you said, we've seen a constant...
You got it right here.
Yeah, we've seen a real constant push since the PS3 era, really, to see all these kind of remakes get regurgitated, whether it was the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy or the Spyro Reignited
or today... Tony Hawk 1 and 2. I mean, they just announced today.
Yeah, like, there's so much of this going on. And you mentioned, we've seen this happen in Hollywood, and it's not really successful for the most part. These remakes do not do well in movies when we take favorite franchises. The latest Alien movie, the latest Terminator movie, Blade Runner. A lot of these remakes did not do very well. How would you say video game remakes differ from movies? Because, like, what is it in the gamer that is willing to accept a new take on a video game when they wouldn't accept the same sort of thing in a movie? Like, we see people absolutely rabid for the Resident Evil 2 and 3 remakes. They're just, people are loving them. Final Fantasy VII remake. What is different about the games and the gamers that's, like, what is that saying about the gamers that they're willing to accept these remakes in the video game industry, but not necessarily in Hollywood?
I would say initially, and this is definitely not fact, this is just my opinion on the whole situation, I feel like there's a timelessness to movies that doesn't exist in video games, where when technology improves, you can add, manipulate, and adjust a game to make quality of life changes, make it a better experience overall for the
Yeah.
end user. Where a movie is just on a screen and it's a picture moving.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, it might be HD now instead of black and white back in the day, but other than that, that's the difference. Like there's nothing more than that.
Yeah, like
So I
we've seen, there's like you say, timeless. Like something like Ghostbusters or Back to the Future, that stuff is timeless and it really doesn't need to be remade, but they've tried to remake so many of these movies and it just fell flat for so many people. In fact, it creates huge controversy, social justice warrior issues and all that kind of stuff. But it seems like video games get a pass.
yeah, for the most part they do. Although I will also say they're under the microscope a lot more than say a new IP. I think a new IP gets a pass because it's new,
Yeah.
where something that's remade has something to compare against. And when you're looking at a game like you said for Resident Evil 2, it's like, well, obviously it looks better. Like
Yeah.
it's not grainy, it's not blocky. But like I said, in addition to that, the quality of life, the tank controls, you can adjust them. You can change it to whatever you want. You can manipulate it to make it a better experience. Where back in the day, I was playing Resident Evil, and how many times you find yourself running into a corner, and you're like, I'm gonna get hit right now because I freaking can't turn fast enough to run.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, I'll just turn now and go.
Yeah.
So it's different. It's a different experience. Where a movie is the same experience.
Yeah.
In a weird way.
So, moving away from, the gaming talk a little bit here, I want to touch on some advice for new creators and kind of talk about YouTube, the algorithm, the landscape on YouTube right now. Some of the things that you have said that have impacted me the most revolve around being yourself. You said you walked away from full-time YouTube. And it seems the minute, like in your words, that you stopped caring, things started to go better for you. What does that say for YouTube creators in general? Like it seems like you're saying the minute you stop chasing the algorithm and start making content you believe in, growth is more likely to happen, but we've not necessarily seen that be the case with many channels. You take into account a lot of the RGTs and Spawn Waves that are pumping out video after video of eShop sales and Nintendo Direct leaks and things like that, and they seem to be doing really good off that stuff, but clearly it's not content that they really care about. I mean, this is stuff that's just getting pumped out and pumped out ad nauseum. What do you have to say to that?
I would say I think for new creators out there, I mean by no means is anybody an expert in this. So take what I say with a grain of salt and use it for what you will. But when starting out, I did a very similar thing that you talked about, where I looked up to influencers like Metal Jesus Rocks, like Happy Console Gamer, and I would watch them, and I would try, especially Angry Video Game Nerd. I think a lot of people were inspired by him, especially
Yeah.
with the nostalgia and the retro gaming. It's like, oh, there's a market for this. Like people will care about this
Yeah.
because he proved that market. That was proof of concept.
Yeah.
Because for the longest time, like no one gave a crap about retro games
Yeah.
before Screw Attack and then YouTube and talking about that. Um, so I took a lot of inspiration joining the platform. And if you watch my initial videos when I started, it was very I was trying so hard to be somebody else who wasn't me and who also wasn't a character. So
Yeah.
it was this weird amalgam of like just this blob of what are you even doing in the video? Like who cares? Like
Yeah.
why are you doing that? And as time went on, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna be more about me and talk about my favorite games. And that picked up a little bit of traction, but it still wasn't really doing it for me. So
Yeah.
as I've gone on and as times pass, I've done a lot of research on analytics and on the algorithm and what matters and what doesn't. And now I'm at the point where I make a video that I just do because I have this weird internal drive to do it.
Yeah.
And if I don't have that passion behind it, I'm not even gonna turn the camera on because what's the point?
Yeah.
And that's kind of programmed my body to just always be in this mode of what's next? What am I going to do when I'm taking a shower, when I'm laying down to go to sleep, when I'm waking up in the morning? That's kind of occupying that block in my head that's taking up the space. And I'm always, I think the longer creators do this, the more that becomes a part of them, where it's a creative outlet.
Yeah.
And it's also, in a weird way, ironically, why I didn't completely walk away from YouTube. Because when it wasn't working out for me after, 3 years of basically doing it full time while I was unemployed, it was growing, but not at the rate that would be sustainable for a business. It was basically a pastime, a hobby. And I'm like, okay, it's not working out. I have all the credentials in the world to get a job. I tried my best. I tried copying everything, every approach that people took.
Yeah.
And none of them worked. None of them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, between all and I know you brought up Happy Console Gamer and even Scott the Laws to an extent, but more so Johnny, I've had conversations with these guys. I've talked to them. I've had Skype calls just like this with Johnny, who is the most incredible human being on the platform. No offense to you, but I'm just like, I cannot believe how just real he is for how big he is.
Yeah.
And he's the one that's just kind of implanted in my brain that I don't care what the size of the channel is. If they're nice to you, they're cool.
I'm so devastated that his frequency has gone down. I know he was sick for a while, but since he's come back, it's like you're lucky if you get a video a week. Sometimes you're going a week and a half without a video, and I'm just dying for more of this content, man. I go back and watch his old videos. Sometimes, a couple times a week, just go back and watch a couple videos because he's just so pleasant to sit in front and just absorb from him.
And I would, like you say, what advice would I give to new creators? I'd say watch him. Don't even watch me. Watch him, because he will, like you said, he'll speak from the heart, be passionate, and be able to just talk and keep your attention and keep you engaged, make you feel like you're in the room with him.
Yeah.
Have a story to tell, but an interesting story, something that you care about, because with all the options on YouTube, and the way YouTube is just forcing people to see anything but you. Yeah. And the smaller you are, the more you realize that. It's as you're starting out, it's important to engage the audience and remember why you're telling the story, why you're making the video.
Yeah.
If you care about the video and you're passionate about it, if you're able, this is at least from me, to watch the video after you make it and maybe this is cocky to say, I don't know, because I'm being real, but I watched the video, I'm like, damn, that's a good video. I'm happy about that video.
Yeah.
I didn't say everything I wanted to say, but the basic gist of what I was trying to get across comes across.
Yeah.
And I'll try to be better next time, which, by the way, that whole I'll try to be better next time is the most motivating factor that I have.
Yeah.
Every video, I'm like, I gotta be better than my last.
We interrupt this regularly scheduled programming for a public service announcement. Somewhere along the line, my audio screwed up. As you heard a couple of seconds ago, I started developing a huge echo. I don't know what that was, some kind of technical problem with OBS, but what I'm going to do from this point forward is just focus on Smash's part of the audio and throw in a little bit of narration here and there where necessary and mute myself because the sound is terrible. Stick with us, guys. There's some pretty cool stuff coming up. So what I'm saying in this clip is that some of the videos that I have been, ironically the happiest with, videos that I felt like I did the best job on, were not necessarily the ones that were most well received. And then some of the videos that I honestly think are the most cringe-worthy, videos that I'm really not happy with, tend to be the ones that get the most views. And I wonder if I resonated with somebody in that video, or exactly what it is about my perception of the videos versus the viewer's perception of the videos.
I will say, unfortunately, it's not necessarily that you conveyed something to them. It's that whatever you were talking about was on their radar for what they were looking for. It doesn't necessarily mean you did a good job or a bad job. That's the problem with YouTube. It's just that's the problem with the algorithm. It's the almighty algorithm tells it decides all things. If you do it right, if you're good and you cover the topics people are interested in talking about, then you will get attention. Be careful with that attention, because not all attention is good attention, by the way.
Just a couple more questions to go, guys. You may have remembered we mentioned chasing the algorithm. There really seems to be a disconnect between quality content and successful channels. Whether you look at Pat the NES Punk or some of the other big guys, I mean, if I see another Switch eShop sale video or a Nintendo Direct rumor, I'm gonna scream. We all know the guys pumping this stuff out, and more power to them if they're making a living. But what do you have to say about chasing the algorithm? When you build up a following like a lot of these big guys have, don't you think they have a responsibility to come up with some quality content?
When I first started YouTube, I would be 100% with what you just said. The more I know about YouTube, the more I realize that what they're doing is actually what their audience wants.
Really?
Unfortunately. And you'd be surprised. I guess that's, I mean, doing the numbers, doing the analytics, seeing what people say, their comments, their likes, the passion behind it, the shares. It's like, it's just not, I guess the most important lesson you could teach a new YouTuber or any YouTuber that doesn't know this is people don't think the way you do. And you need to get out of your own head.
Yeah.
Because if you're saying that, that means you are caught up in logical thinking.
Right.
And oftentimes, no offense to viewers, the most viewed videos aren't necessarily what you and I consider logical. It's just what the masses consider logical. It's the same when you see a trending topic on Twitter and you're like, how is that even trending? It's like, that's what people are talking about. It might not be what you care about, but you are not every man. You are not these people. And I think that's as you grow on YouTube, it's a constant battle of trying to stay who you are while also understanding the needs of the viewers and not losing yourself in the process and staying true to yourself. And I think, I don't know if you want to get into that yet, but you kind of started with that at the beginning. It's just staying true to yourself, being who you are, being real with your audience, which is what I strive to be. And not everyone's going to like it. And not oftentimes you'll say things that'll maybe piss people off. It might not be to the lengths that I go. But I mean, if you say something about a video game where you're like, just to be controversial, I mean, like, Little Samson's not even a good game. I don't know why, just because it's rare, it's like, that might piss people off, you know? Because it's stating your opinion and people might own it and they might have spent $1,800 on it for some reason, or $1,200, whatever it's going for, and they might be like, "Screw you! I feel like it's worth that. How dare you say that about a game that I paid that for?" It's like, I mean, it's just the reality of what it is.
Exactly. So the last question I had for Jeff here is really about integrity on YouTube, and I mentioned Scott the Woz a little bit earlier. He really impresses me with having a lot of integrity. He doesn't seem to really ask for donations or have a P.O. box to take stuff for free or anything like that. He seems to make his money pretty legitimately. So many YouTubers are coming under fire for manipulating their fans with things like P.O. boxes, taking donations, taking free games and things like that, and who knows what they're doing with them. Requests for donations to various ideas that they may have. Something like the John Hancock Museum, love him or hate him, and I'm a fan of John Hancock, of course, but I understand the questions people have, the hater videos and stuff, wondering where these donations are going to and whether this museum is ever going to happen. Or something like RGT85 in a video you did a couple of weeks ago talking about him selling his games, which may have been potentially donated, which it's really just an optics issue, but There's also more nefarious manipulations, like these predatory paid access programs such as Destiny FOMO with her OnlyFans. I think most of us accept the inevitability of Patreon as a way for channels to bring in a bit more money. But what, in your opinion, is the dividing line between added value and straight up exploitation of the fans? How can a content creator ensure that they maintain integrity in this landscape?
I've remained constant on this from the beginning, which has really pissed a lot of people off, especially the harder my stance grows on it, the more frustrated people get, because I do have a Patreon. I do.
Yeah.
And do I need it? No, I don't. I have a job. It pays very well.
Yeah.
I make money off of YouTube. I'm doing fine. I don't have any issues. My job is not currently in jeopardy thanks to the pandemic or anything like that. Why do you still have a Patreon that's a haters? Why do you do it? It's like, well, because the people that donate to me, I had a conversation with them all, and they were like, we like the content. We want to be an additional motivating factor for you. We want to be supporting you, and we want to buy you a coffee every month. We want to do something that to say thank you, just to giving back to you for what you do. And I'm like, you know what? Okay, I can justify this without being slimy, in my opinion, because I'm like, you know what? I do put a lot of work into this. I do feel like it's not a business per se yet. Maybe someday it will be, but right now it's not. It's still a hobby. It's fun. It's stressful. It's the most stressful hobby I've ever had in my life. But some weird, sick, twisted part of me loves that. But I have the Patreon because I'm like, these people say they want to give money to me, and I'm paying for SmashJT.com every year, $500 for a website domain, for data storage, for the email address, info@smashjt.com. This stuff is not free. Like, I pay for that proactively. And I'm like, you know what? I'm doing all this work. I'm getting all this stuff I'm paying for. I'm like, maybe I can just use that money to pay for the brand that I'm building and put it back into the channel. Now, I don't typically walk around promoting it all the time. You watch my videos, I'm not like, oh, I have a Patreon, make sure you pay me money. Like, I don't like I said, I don't need the money. But if people want to give it to me, I'm not going to be like, no, don't give it to me, because I'm still paying money for the stuff that I'm doing. Like like I said, the website, the promotional materials that I've made, the koozies, the keychains, the lights, the stickers, the stamps, like everything I've made. People are like, oh, you don't have to make that. And I say, you don't have to give me money. Like, what's the problem here?
And I mean that's really the dream of any small YouTuber is just to hit that point where you're bringing in enough money, whether you've got just enough subscribers to get a couple of $100 in ad revenue or whatever, where the hobby is paying for itself.
Well, I'll tell you, I've made multiple videos on this topic, and I tell all new YouTubers this because they need to have it hammered into their head with a smash mallet. You're not going to make money on this platform. Not for a very, 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 very long time. Like, if ever.
If ever.
Some of the best content creators I've seen make like pennies a day. Pennies a day. I mean, I personally, in my videos, I've talked about this, and it's stayed constant. Nothing's changed. I make maybe $3 to $4 a day. Maybe. Like, sometimes it's 5 to 6. If there's really a controversy going on, I'll make $7 or $8 a day. Like, and that's with putting videos out almost daily. So what's that breakdown per hour, per effort, per research, per stress, per tweet? It's like 4 cents. If that. It's like it's not. But
it's like if you can get an In-N-Out burger for you're doing pretty good.
But I'll say, like, I know I make it all doom and gloom, but it's like, well, this is in the future. We're talking 3.5 years forward now. I'm making $4 to $8 a day, we'll say. Whereas 2 years ago, I was making like $1 a day, or 3 years ago, I was making like 18 cents a day or 7 cents a day. So it's like it is steadily growing, and there are some massive peaks and valleys with the flow of cash. And it's definitely like for someone like Boogie 2988, what's he live in, like Arkansas? Like the cost of living there is nothing. So yeah, you can be a YouTuber and get a couple 100,000 views every couple days and live an okay lifestyle. But I feel like people look at like H3 and they buy a $9 million mansion and they're like, oh, I'm gonna be H3 if I do this. Like that's the Keemstars of the world, the James Rolfes of the world, the Scott the Wazes of the world. Which, by the way, Scott the Waz, I don't have enough good things to say about that guy.
Yeah, me either.
But if he were to start a Patreon, if he wanted to, I mean, the guy would be swimming in money. He'd be Uncle Scrooge. But he gets enough views. He has ads turned on. He makes enough money off his videos. So he doesn't have to have that, which is fantastic. And, I mean, people have asked me, if you get big enough, would you remove your Patreon? And I'm like, I don't know. I'd have to look at it at that point. I'd have to. I can't answer that now. But the more I look at stuff like that, the more I'm like, it's. I don't have an issue with people giving money to someone that they want to give money to, and I think you brought it up too with the John Hancock thing. I do have an issue with people saying something but not following through on what they're saying. And then people are giving things based off of false promises, or because there's, like we talked about earlier, there's a vast majority of viewers out there, whether people want to admit it or not, that just don't have logical sense. They don't, and they'll fall for somebody saying something. They'll think that they're making a personal connection. I talked about it in my beat 'em ups video when he gets truckloads of stuff sent to him. And people are like, oh, you're just jealous. You're just jealous. I'm like, I have everything I want in my life. I'm not jealous. I'm just saying there comes a point where you're like, why are you doing this? Why? Like,
and every one of his videos is like, every one of those videos is like reverse psychology in the title, where it's like, please stop doing this. But you know that's not what he, what he really means is do this more, do this more, you know?
And I look at that as taking advantage of people that just don't know any better. And especially with an audience of mostly younger adults or kids, they're going to look up to him as an impressionable superstar and try to give something to make a connection, to talk to their friends at school, to say, oh my God, watch this video. He opened this and he got the sword from Zelda.
And I'm on the channel or whatever. He read my letter on the channel.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm not 100% behind that, but at the same time, it's this weird thing where I'm like, I'm all about capitalism. At the end of the day, I'm all about do what you gotta do. So I'm constantly tearing it.
I don't really have a problem with YouTubers, receiving donations or that sort of thing, if there's a legitimate reason for it, if it's, part of what's going on the channel. I used to follow this girl, Mecha Random, and she would receive things in her P.O. box for review. Somebody would send her an anime or something. I stopped following her because there was a lot of negative content, but the fact remains, if there's a legitimate reason, if you're going to review a product or you're going to mention it on video or something, hey, that's cool.
Me. I mean, yes and no, because at the end of the day, ultimately, I like to give people freedom of choice too. That's why I say I'm constantly at odds with myself on this, because I'm like, don't take advantage of people, but goddamn people, stop being so stupid. Like that's why I have two minds of thought with it, and I firmly believe both of them. Don't take advantage of people. Don't be stupid. Those both exist. I don't like those, but at the same time, I have a third thing. If I had a third hand, I'd put it up here too. I'd say, do what you got to do. It's your thing. You built this brand. You built this channel. You wanna sell your videos to people. Do it. You want to sell your Patreon to people? Do it. You want to sell some risque photos of yourself? Do it. Like, I don't care what you do to make your money. At the end of the day, everyone's got to hustle. Everyone's trying to make ends meet. More power to people. So I think my challenge has been balancing my opinions, because there's a lot. It's like, here's right and here's wrong, and in between these is the gray area.
Yeah.
And there it's a very long area where, as a kid, you're like, it's right and wrong. There's no gray area. That's as you grow up, you're like, wait a second, there's a lot of minutia to this. Hold on a second. I can see why that's okay. Wait a second. He said he's making a museum, and he's not. What's he doing with all these games? That's not okay. But what if he does make a museum someday? Does that justify everything he did up to this point? That's why it's like, how can anyone know? You know what I mean? It's just, it's a lot of minutia, and the problem is that gray area is what some creators take advantage of, and that's what pisses me off.
So I'm pretty much done here with my questions. I think we've covered all the ground we need to cover. Is there anything you wanted to add to the conversation before we sign off?
No, I'm good. I mean, as far as if you're a new creator watching this, I'd say you're going to go through a lot of times where you want to quit, and especially early on. And just, if you feel the need to keep going and keep pushing and keep making videos, do it. But don't force it. If you're forcing it, you're going to get depressed. You're going to downward spiral and get super negative about life. If you're positive about it, you're happy about it, great. Sometimes take a break. If it's a day, a week, a month, sometimes a year or longer, do what you feel is right. YouTube does not care about you.
Yeah.
They don't. So you need to care about you. Build a community, make some friends, find a reason to keep coming back to it. And if you're getting frustrated, step away. Just step away from it. Don't keep engaging with it. Don't try harder, because it gets worse. Like you said, sometimes your favorite videos, the ones you worked hardest on, are the ones that don't do anything because they're built for you.
Yeah.
Which is great, by the way. I know people are like, oh, I thought people should make videos for themselves. They should, but at the same time, always keep in mind what the end viewer is looking for, because most of the time, they don't directly correlate with what you want. There's always something that you need to make a connection with the viewer, and if you're not doing that, then you're not going anywhere.
Well, the way I look at it for my channel, like, of course you want attention, of course you want subscribers, of course you would love to get paid at some point for doing what you do. But for me, really, if I just have this living record of the things that I was interested and passionate about, that I can someday show my grandkids when they're 15 or 20, I feel like I've done my job and I have made the hobby worthwhile just right there.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I mean, my son, even my daughter to an extent, but my son especially, I'll catch him with his iPad making videos of himself and emulating me. Like, I'm like, how do you even know about it? I don't think I show you my video. I hope I don't show you my videos. Jeez. But he's like, he's doing a video because he watches sometimes, Let's Plays on YouTube Kids. On Minecraft. And he's like, hi, everybody. This is Austin. Ready for another smashing episode. Let's watch it. And he's 7 years old. He just turned 7. He's like, let's watch it. And he turns the camera towards it. He's like, okay, now I'm going to do this. And I'm like, it's so freaking adorable. I love it. But oh my God, I know exactly what you mean.
All right. Well, just take a second to plug yourself. Where can people find you online? Your YouTube, your Twitter, whatever.
SmashJT.com has all my social links. YouTube.com/SmashJT, Twitter.com/SmashJT, Facebook.com/SmashXJT. But all the links are in my YouTube bio and on my website. But I would imagine most people probably either know who I am, and they either already have an opinion about me, they either love me or hate me. But that's the thing, when you grow, it's like people create these opinions about you based off of hearsay instead of watching your videos for themselves and making an opinion for themselves. And all I say is I encourage people that don't like me just to watch my videos without taking in opinions from other people.
Well, and that's
See how you
it's
feel.
funny you say that because I actually I'd heard about Destiny FOMO for on Twitter and stuff for the last year or so. I've been kind of hearing of her, and I didn't really pay much attention. First time I actually watched a Destiny FOMO video was when you were talking about the controversy, and I was like, I got to see what this chick's all about. You know, so it's you know.
She should be thanking me because she's probably getting more attention from it. She's not a big fan of me right now, though.
Yeah, I can imagine. All right, man. Well, thanks so much for your time. And guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Stay classy, guys.